Welcome in to the I-80 Boys podcast. I am the actual host of this show. This guy I've been carrying for I don't know how many months now. What is your name again?
Well, apparently it's Christian by God, senior card-carrying member of whatever ARP chapter you're in over there.
Look, let's get the elephant out of the room here, Christian. We know you're what, 10 years younger than me. Let's be honest here. You're not that far you're not that far out, buddy. Let's be real here, buddy. Let's just keep it real. You act like you're like down in that, like, just came out of college. I know you've been working out. I know your 40 time is in the sixes. Let's be honest, buddy. Let's get it out there.
Sub 5, I would say, or sorry, sub 6, man, at least.
Sub 5?
Yeah. I mean, we're working on it. I mean, we're going to get back there. At one point in my life it was, but it's been a while. We got Children of the Corn here in the comments. Bush Light and the I-80 Boys. Life can't get much better.
He's got a fucking point there.
Doing the, he's got some of the crew from Sports Nightly joining him tonight. We always appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
It's nothing but love over there.
Awesome. Christian, what the hell are we talking about today, man? What we got? What are we doing? Looks like we got a swamp in the background. What the fuck are we doing?
We're going to be getting into a little bit of some Florida, not Gators, not quite Gators. We'll get into that a little later on, but some Florida football here. Man, I think we're going to start off. We're going to look at the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to break them down, and then we're going to look at, just kind of seeing what they can do. Chris, what are your thoughts about the Hurricanes as we get going into this year?
Man, look, man, last year, 5-7, rough season for the Hurricanes last year. I'm not real big on them again this year. I know they're going to be better. I mean, they almost have to be, right? I think I made this comparison weeks ago about Miami kind of being like my team, Nebraska. It's been a rough few years, right? QB play, though, Tyler Van Dyke, I think he's got a chance to put up some numbers this year, be a decent quarterback, Christian. Like to hear your thoughts on that. I know they're returning some guys. In the ACC, man, there's a few teams. There's a few teams that are pretty top heavy there, right? We got Clemson, we got Florida State, who we'll touch on here shortly. We got North Carolina, who I'm pretty high on, Mac Brown and Drake May and those guys. But like, I think Miami can do something this year. Miami is always a relevant name in college football. We all know that. Anybody that follows college football knows Miami's history, especially the last 20, 25 years. They've won quite a few national titles in that time as well. But they've been on that kind of roller coaster that Nebraska's been on, except for we've been down on the bottom for a long time recently. I don't know this year. You know what? If they go 7-5 this year, maybe 8-4 is a really great year this year. I just don't know how much, talent they have on that team compared to some of those top end teams in the ACC.
Yeah, Crypto King says Hurricanes are going to win 8 games this year. We'll see. Like I said, I mean, we're going to see. Here in a couple of minutes, we're going to jump into their season. Their actual record predictions here. So we'll kind of get to that. And I might tend to agree with you. We'll just have to see. Chris, you're absolutely right, though. Mario Cristobal last year, his first season, right, is at his alma mater, went 5-7.
Right.
Reminds me a lot of Mike Norvell at Florida State, right? And Cristobal, he's a highly regarded recruiter, right?
Yeah.
And, he's a pretty solid coach, I would say, really. I mean, what he did at Oregon was pretty good. I think the biggest thing is it's just going to take him some time to get it built up, right? Where I'm concerned about Miami is of their 7 losses last year, Chris, only 2 were within 1 possession. So they were blown out or pretty close to it a lot of games last year, right? I think they're going to be better. And you've kind of touched on Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, last year he put up, almost 1,900 yards, go alongside 10 touchdowns. He only attempted 16 passes over the final 5 weeks of the season because he was, hurt. I mean, so he barely played in a lot of those games and wasn't really himself. What was interesting to me, Alabama wanted him before they went over to, Alabama wanted him, dude. What do you think about that, Chris?
Can you still hear me, Christian?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Sorry. I had a little bit of an audio issue there. No. What I wanted to interject there is, but Bama wanted him. I mean, they got 2 trash backs back there for quarterbacks right now, dude. Let's be honest. I mean, don't look like you're surprised, dude. They don't got much back there right now. I don't know if you saw that spring game was pretty goddamn weak. I'm not saying that's not a knock on on Van Dyke. That's not at all. But I'm a little concerned about Bama, and that's a topic for another day. But I think he had he had an okay year last year. I'll give it that. But you're returning some other guys there. I know they got a couple of the wide receivers back. Like you said, Cristobal can recruit. I think they had a decent recruiting offseason, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have that pulled up right now, but I think they're going to be okay. I don't know 8 games for sure, but I would put them definitely better than 5-7 this year. I could see a 7-5 season, Christian, looking at that schedule off the rip. But I don't know, man. What else you got on Miami? Like, what are you thinking here? Are you thinking this is a breakout year for Van Dyke? Is he cracking your top 10 QBs in college football this season? Is that what you're saying?
Top 10, that's a pretty hefty list to get on there. I think he could be inside the top 25, top 30 quarterbacks in college football. I think that'd be a great I don't want to say stretch, but that's a great aiming point for him. Here's the other side of it, Chris. I mean, he's only a junior this year, man. So if he doesn't have a good year this year, he still has he still has 2 years left, man. I mean, so he can come back and, probably, I think he's still doing the COVID year thing. I don't know. But, I mean, he's got some time. I mean, depending if he doesn't transfer or whatever have you. To me, again, I think he's going to have a bounce back year. He's got to stay healthy. They got to protect him. And I think everything will be all right. The good news for Miami is they're going to get running back Henry Parrish back. He's going to try to build upon a 700-yard, 6-touchdown season. And he's going to most likely split reps with they brought in an uber talented true freshman in Mark Fletcher. So, dude, that's crazy. If you've got a true freshman running back who's going to be splitting some time back there with you second on the depth chart this early, he's going to be good.
Yeah, no, can't disagree with that. That kid, I believe he's a 5-star, if I'm not mistaken. If not, he was a high 4-star. But, yeah, big-time recruit they landed there, dude. They're going to be able to run the football a little bit. Cristobal is going to run, if I'm not mistaken, he's from Oregon, right? Came from over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know they kind of want to run that spread style. And I think they're going to be able to too, though. The ACC, like I said to me, the ACC is kind of, gotta hate making this comparison, but it's very top heavy, kind of like the Big 12, or not the Big 12, but the Pac-12 this year. There's a few teams up there that are really, really, really good. And then there's like a slew of teams, I think, from 4 to 8 that could really make some noise this year. You know what I mean? And actually I could say the same about the Big 10 this year. So I think Miami's going to be in that conversation this year. I truly do. I think they're going to have a much improved year. Like you said, Van Dyke is only a junior. I mean, 5-7. I mean, you can't realistically tell me as a fan that went 5-7 last year that you're going to go, 11-1 or something. That never happens. So no, Miami this year, they're going to be halfway relevant over there. I truly do. They might shock some people. Maybe they knock off somebody this year. We know how it goes, Christian. Preseason rankings don't really mean shit after about week 4. You know what I mean? There's a lot that changes. There's teams out there that we always think that, hey, this team is definitely going to be a shoe-in for the playoff. They end up going like 8-4. I mean, we see it all the time. Like, look at Clemson last year. I mean, they had a really down year. There's teams out there. We see it all the fucking time. So,
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, the biggest question mark is going to be, I can't really say it's a question mark, but it's who's he going to throw the ball to, man? I mean, tight end Will Mallory, who's their leading receiver last year, he's gone. They do bring back, Colby Young, who's a wide receiver. He had 5 touchdowns for him last year. They bring in tight end Cam McCormick from Oregon, who he had 3 touchdowns last year. And I mean, Cristobal knows him, right? He's pretty familiar with him. Look, I think this is an offense that ranked 86 last year. And again, if Van Dyke stays healthy, I got a good feeling, dude. They're going to do some good things. I have a feeling about this year. Do I think, like you said, that they're going to go 11-1? We'll see here in a bit.
Yeah, I don't think that happens. Like I said, you're a little bit higher on them than I am, and that's okay. I think they'll find some weapons, dude. Miami, that is Florida. That whole fucking state's got kids that can run, dude. We all know that. That's a recruiting hot ground down there, man. I think they've always had talent down there. That's the thing with Miami. When you bring up the Miami Hurricanes, whether it's any year, even a down year, man, they still put guys in the fucking NFL down there, dude. And they're going to have talent. They always do. It's crazy. I wish Nebraska could pull some of that more up this way, but no, they'll be fine, Christian. They'll be okay this year. I would be really shocked. Would you be shocked if they have like another 5-7 season or a 6-8 year or something like that? Or 6-6, I should say. Sorry.
I don't think it would shock me, honestly.
Really?
No, I mean, we'll break it down a little bit when we get in the schedule, when we take a look at some things. But I really think it wouldn't shock me. But do I think that's where they finish? No, I mean, obviously I don't. But we'll talk on that here in a bit. For me, the reason why I say that too is, Kevin Steele. It's funny, we were talking about Alabama and Miami, earlier with the Van Dyke thing. Kevin Steele jumped over to Alabama, right? And the Hurricanes finished 65th last year in total defense.
Turnover chain.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's not terrible, but again, for what we're looking for here, if you've got the 86th ranked offense in the country, you got to do something a little better than that. So, I mean, we got to crank that up. They do bring in Lance Guidry to replace him. Last season he was at Marshall. Marshall upset Notre Dame last year, dude. So, I mean, their defense, I think they were ranked 8th in total defense last year.
Really?
If you can believe that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I'm a stat whore over here. I trust me. I said the same thing when I was looking it up. I was like, Jesus Christ, they ranked 8th. So, and they get back a good portion of their defense, right? I mean, they had to go to the portal to shore up some spots too. I mean, they're trying to get back linebackers and corners. I think for me, it's watching that defensive line, in the ACC, I want to see them getting after the quarterback and absolutely wreaking havoc back there. A lot better than what they did last year. The other side of it too, Chris, would it be a stretch to say bringing this guy in, could they finish inside of the top 50 this year in defense?
Yeah, no, I think they could. I mean, Miami's always been known for great defenses though, dude. Turnover chain, like I brought up earlier. No, I mean, I think they can. It's just in the ACC, and it's all about, what conference you're in, man. I'm really big on what conference you're in. So, like, the ACC is going to be they got some teams out there that can put up some points, right? Clemson should be a lot better this year. Florida State, as we mentioned, UNC, some of those teams. Yeah, they're going to have to play some fucking defense over there. And I think Miami can. I say this again. One thing I'm sure we've caught a lot of flack on some Florida people this year, Christian. You know that, especially you. Man, they got some kids down there that can play though, dude. Those high schools are crazy, man. They got a lot of talent down there. And that's where I always think about Miami. I don't ever put them ever at the bottom just because I know they're going to have talent there. It usually comes down to coaching. And that's a big thing. If Cristobal can get these guys in line, it's going to be his second year. I think that personally, I like Cristobal. I think he's a damn good recruiter. I think he's a damn good coach. I really, truly do. And I know he comes from Oregon. Well, I'm not always the fondest of as a school, but I think they're going to be okay this year. And I think they do definitely have, like I keep saying, they're going to have a better than a 5-7 season this year. It would shock me if they go 5-7 again. I'll put that on record.
Well, you brought it up. Let's take a look at it, man. Let's jump into the records here, Chris. I mean, what do you got for your record prediction for them?
Christian, you pull that up on the screen. I'm having a little bit. There we go. That's what I wanted. I'll run through this real quick. Miami, Ohio, that's a dub. Texas A&M is a question mark for me. Bethune-Cookman, win. Temple, win. Georgia Tech, I think, is still a tough team, even though they don't have Jeff Sims there anymore. North Carolina's lost. Clemson. There's your two teams right there that I think, and I'm very, very high on both those two teams. Virginia, NC State, man, those I think Miami beats both of those. Florida State, who we'll touch on here shortly, Christian's favorite team in the ACC by far, and Louisville, Boston College. No, I actually think Miami goes 8-4. I'll put it right out there. I don't see them beating a Florida State, a Clemson, or a North Carolina. Christian, I'd like to hear your thoughts. A&M, I think just has got to be better than what they were last year. Otherwise, what's his bucket don't have a job anymore. Your boy over there from Florida State. So don't even. All right, I already touched. I know I already got you pissed off, and I love it. What go ahead there. You got a stocking hat on. It's 90 fucking degrees outside here in Nebraska. What the hell is wrong with you?
But, in honor of us doing this whole Florida theme here, it's relatively cold in the Midwest compared to Florida. So that's why the stocking cap is out today. Listen, you fucking pink-titted elephant. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you something right now. And that is, we don't talk, when we give these record predictions, we don't confer with one another and say, hey, what do you think they're going to do? So we're going into this blind here. I actually have them going 8-4 too. So
all that for that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the losses, to me, looking at it here, North Carolina, Florida State, Louisville, and I think they're going to have a surprise loss. You know,
I think they roll A&M.
Say that again.
You think they roll right over A&M? Second game of the year.
I think they do.
Jimbo Fisher is going to fuck it. I mean, dude, let's be honest. We need to touch on that team, by the way. That actually brings up a good point because I got a lot to say about him and that fucking A&M squad last year. What a letdown with that number 1 recruiting class. But you really think they just walk right through there?
I don't know if they walked through there, but I mean, as bad as A&M looked last year on offense, I mean, and they were really young last year. A&M's going to be much better this year. I just think, man,
okay.
You know, who's A&M's quarterback going to be? That's the biggest question that you got to ask yourself.
100%.
That's the biggest. Every year they have a really talented quarterback, and every year that the motherfucker transfers. So I'm just saying, I think Miami's got a good chance to beat them. I'll take them in that game. It sounds crazy. I mean, they should win, but I mean, who knows? Georgia Tech might be better. Georgia Tech made Georgia sweat a little bit last year, like in the first quarter.
Yeah,
maybe it was the first half. I think it was somewhat of a close game. Then they, Georgia pulled away and ended up blowing them out. But yeah, I mean, you never know, dude. I think Georgia Tech's going to be better this year. North Carolina, like we said, Clemson will probably. Here's the thing. I think they could upset Clemson, and I think that they will have a couple of surprising losses elsewhere.
You know what? I'll agree to disagree with your fucking statement. There's too much hot air going in that fucking head of yours with that stocking cap on. Whatever. I don't know. Miami's tough to predict this year. I really truly think that, kind of just because there's a lot of unknowns with them right now. They do bring the quarterback back, as we talked about and touched on a bazillion times here in the last couple minutes. But I think that they're going to be fine. I just don't see them going 5-7 again. I could see a 7-5, 8-4 year again, Christian. I mean, you could pick your losses in there, man. And yeah, there's going to be some upsets. It's going to happen. Miami might be Clemson, right? Or they might knock off a UNC and Drake May and those guys and shock a few people. Miami's pretty good at doing that once in a while too, though. So, like I said, it's not because of lack of talent. Miami puts out a lot of fucking talent there, dude. I keep saying that, but they do every year. There's always guys in the fucking NFL from Miami. So if they can, and that all to me tells me, I guess I should say, can you coach those guys? We said that about Nebraska in the past too. Nebraska does put some decent NFL players out, but they end up being a hell of a lot better in the NFL than they do at Nebraska because I think a lot of that is coaching. I stick by that a lot. So I don't have to say that about your team, Georgia. We all know that the Philadelphia Bulldogs are pretty much your new team. So I get it. It is what it is. I'll leave it at that.
Man, listen, I'm just saying, dude, we both said 8-4. How we get there, you can't mess with how the corn's cooked.
Jesus, whatever. Fucking idiot. All right. All right. What we got next here, Christian? What the hell we got next? Who we got next?
So this is pretty good here. We're going to take a look at our hot take of the week here, Chris. Your favorite segment. I'll let you read it off here, right? Show me how to read there, geriatric fuck.
Oh, God. A team from Florida will make it to the playoffs. Whew. I'm high on one team. Don't act surprised because it's a team that you caught a lot of shit for as well this year. I do. I really do. And I think it's Florida State and Jordan Travis, baby. This is the year. This is the year, man. I think it's going to happen. I was torn between two teams on this. It was Oregon and Florida State. I still stand my ground on both those two. I think one of those two teams gets in. I actually think both those two teams could possibly run the table more than likely. That's a tough one, though. It's definitely not Florida. Graham Mertz, my thoughts on him coming from Wisconsin. I've seen enough of him play. We talked about Miami. They're not going 11-1 or 12-0 this year. If I had to put some money down on this, the more and more I'm starting to like Florida State than I do Oregon in my predictions this year. And we'll probably release those later on, Christian, right? Like kind of what we think at the end of the year as far as before the season starts, where we'll see what we're all about and put our money where our mouth is. But, man, I do. I think Florida State does make it. I know I'm really interested to hear your thoughts because me and you had quite a disagreement about Florida State earlier this year. And go ahead, Christian, give it to me real here.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I want to start off by once again apologizing to a lot of the Florida State fans. Apparently, I riled some people up, and I guess I went back and I looked at it, and I'll always own my mistakes. I was probably a little bit of a hater, if you will. I was drinking the haterade out there for Florida State. Look, I think Florida State has the best chance out of everybody in the state of Florida to make it to the playoffs. I still think, right, because they have the most talent and they have the longest tenured coach out of a lot of these programs we're getting ready to mention here. I still think they can lose to LSU week 1, but I think if they win out, which they should, right, they have a great shot at it. Florida State, to me, again, can absolutely and should absolutely win the ACC. I'm actually, I'm not as high on Clemson as I was in the past. I'm a lot more higher now on Florida State. I think Miami, I think they might be next up out of all these teams, believe it or not. Okay. They should be a lot better. We just kind of talked on them, but again, it really depends on how far can, Tyler Van Dyke progress this year and what can they really do. And then they also have to beat some of these teams like Florida State and Clemson and all these other teams we just kind of mentioned if they want to have a real shot at it. UCF, to me, is the third team if we're ranking this. So Florida State, Miami, UCF. Look, dude, UCF is America's Cinderella team. I mean, they do a really good job at always playing the underdog there. They've got John Rice Plumlee, who's played a ton of football, transferred from Ole Miss. I think they've got DeMarcus Bowman, who was at Clemson and then transferred to Florida and then transferred into UCF. So they got some good playmakers there. The issue that I've got, though, Chris, is they're jumping over to the Big 12 this year.
Big problem.
So, yeah. So, I mean, they're going to step up in competition. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do playing much tougher opponents each week. I mean, it's a huge difference when you go from the American Athletic Conference to the Big 12. Be like going from the Big 12, like Texas and Oklahoma are getting ready to find out it's going to suck going to the SEC.
Yeah, 100%.
Lastly, Florida. Look, I will not backtrack on this. Florida's got the toughest path because they play in the hardest conference. And they might have one of the worst offenses in the entire state of Florida.
Oh, but it's that defense is so great, Christian, after that spring game. Defense. The defense is so great. That's why they had extra time. Extra time. The defense is going to be all-time greatest defense ever in 2023, Florida Gators. That's all I heard.
I'll make some of the Nebraska fans in the chat here pretty happy with this. I think Wisconsin is really, really missing Graham Mertz, and that says a lot because their offense is going to look like complete dog shit this year. I mean, they can't even hit people, on a simple slant route, let alone, throwing it pretty much in stride to a defensive back in the spring game. I mean, they've got a lot of work to do. But anyways, we're talking about Florida here. Yeah, man, Florida's in a rough spot, but to me, this actually brings up a really good talking point, Chris. I got a feeling in about a year, we're going to look back at this and we're going to say at the end of this year, believe it or not, when college football is done and it wraps, Anthony Richardson, I think, was holding the Gators together and he wasn't holding them back like a lot of Florida fans believe. What are your thoughts on that?
It's funny you bring up my boy, AR-15, right? Big knock on him in the NFL draft. Just didn't throw enough passes. Haven't seen enough of him, right? Got all I heard. It's funny you bring him up. All I heard was, oh, he can't throw the ball. He's very inconsistent, can't throw the ball. If you guys go back last year and watch him play, and I actually watched him film on him last year, just recently. You know how many fucking drop fucking passes or receivers could not get open? I mean, I don't care who was playing quarterback there. You could throw fucking Joe Burrow back there for Florida last year. If your receivers can't create space and you can't catch a football, man, it makes it tough. AR-15 got a hell of a rap last year for being like a terrible quarterback. We hear some comments, Christian. Didn't we hear some comments that thank God he's gone, get the hell out of here, whatever. Are you kidding me, man? I know he didn't throw a ton of passes, and I know he didn't play a ton there. Kid was ultra talented. There's a reason why the Colts drafted him number 4 overall. I don't care, and then people are going to throw in Johnny Manziel and all this other bullshit about Jamarcus Russell and all these other guys that were drafted super early and didn't shoot in the NFL. Whole different story. My point is, though, they're going to miss him. I think he did. You make a good point. I think he kind of did hold that team together last year. I don't think he had a lot to work with. Florida hasn't been the most stable program, Christian, lately. I mean, they really haven't. Between quarterbacks, issues on and off the field, productivity over the last 5 years, coaches coming in and out. Man, they've had a lot of fucking problems there. So I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But to answer this question, man, I am very high on Florida State. I right now I'm leaning Florida State to make the playoffs. If I had to put some money on it today, I probably would over my Oregon. I kind of have give you a hint inside my predictions this year before they start the season. We're going to kind of go through, I think, Christian, and talk about who our Final Four teams are essentially at the end of the year or before the season starts here in a couple months. But there's a lot to be determined yet, but I think Florida State's got the best chance. You did say something about Florida, though. They do play in the toughest conference. Absolutely. The SEC is no fucking joke. I know that. I hate to stroke your ego more than it is over there with Georgia kicking everybody's ass. And Christian, may I ask this question, though? Yeah. Are you hating on Florida because they're your rival?
I am absolutely not. Listen, I thought about this, and you go back to the mid-2000s, early 2000s when Florida had Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow and everything like that. I'm not trying to hate on Florida. I want them to be good because it's a good competition. They won national championships. We are winning national championships. At this point, I understand Georgia trying their reign over college football. It's probably not going to happen this year for them. That's my personal thoughts on it. I just want the rivalry to be good. Man, that's all I want. If Florida does better, college football does better, right? I'm not trying to hate on them. I want to kind of touch on this real quick. Florida Atlantic will only lose one game. This is Children of the Corn again here. Listen, they've got Casey Thompson from Nebraska, and they've also got Tom Herman, who's he's a decent coach when he's in a lesser school, I feel like, right? Less expectations. I just pulled their schedule up here. You got Casey Thompson and arguably one of the best offensive minds in college football. Monmouth, Ohio. Clemson game's probably going to be a little bit rough. Illinois, they could go on the road and beat them. Oh, okay. Tulsa, South Florida. By the way, check out our South Florida Dynasty on the channel. Yeah, UTSA, Charlotte, UAB. Yeah, dude, they could. Well, Tulane. That's going to be might be a tough game for them.
That's what I wanted to talk about real quick to interject here. Tulane's no fucking joke, dude. They're bringing back their quarterback. They're bringing back a lot of those pieces after that big time. I think probably biggest win in school history, right? Last year, beating USC, Christian, in the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're Tulane's no fucking joke, dude. They got Michael Pratt coming back, dude. I think they're going to be tough. But the rest of the schedule, yeah, other than Clemson, yeah, I could see that. And Casey Thompson's God, he's more than a veteran quarterback. This is going to be like his 5th or 6th year playing college football. So, I mean, he's been around for a while. This is his third or fourth team. So I think to answer that question, though, only lose one game, bro. I don't know. I think that's maybe a stretch. Christian, what do you think there real quick on Florida Atlantic as far as overall schedule? You think they win lose more than one game? I can't talk.
Man, I think they can. This is a tough one for me, dude. I think they could do it. I mean, I think they could only lose one game this year. I mean, the Tulane game is going to, like you said, be rough. I mean, UTSA isn't any pushover either out there. But I mean, I don't know. Casey Thompson, I liked what I saw out of Nebraska last year with him. Yeah, I don't know. I'll say it. I'll just say I think they could only lose one game this year. Give me Clemson.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. It's an interesting topic, though. It really is with Florida Atlantic. They're much better that they got him. I will say that.
I got something here for you, Chris. Let's take a look at this. From Mr. Florida. Florida's going to win the Natty. We will win every game, and our defense will be top 5 defense. So will our offense. You both have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it sounds about right from a typical Florida hater that we had earlier this year in one of our podcasts, which I didn't think we went that hard on Florida. We were given our realistic predictions and what we thought of Florida's fucking spring game. And I don't know if these people do a lot of drugs. I know cocaine runs rampant down there, but that's a little bit different than what I'm talking about here. I don't understand where you just heard me earlier, 5 minutes ago, but it's our defense, Christian. It's our defense. Your fucking offense looks like shit. I've seen Graham Mertz play football. How many years at Wisconsin? He wasn't that good. Let's just put it out there. I mean, where do they think that, like, all of a sudden now you're relevant in the SEC? Mind you, you are playing in the toughest conference in America with schools like LSU, with Georgia. Christ, I'll say Bama. I mean, there is a ton of fucking teams in that conference that are really, 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 really good. And all of a sudden, now we got a top 5 defense, and Florida's going to win a national. And you think this, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. This guy just said that they're going to win a national title, Christian. I'll leave it at that.
Man, I've been to Florida once. I'll just say this. I mean, I think a lot of extracurricular activities are funneled through Florida, and this man is clearly partaking in some of them. You know what I'm saying? I think this guy is, I just think that's crazy, man. I mean, that is just craziness right there. I think the best case for Florida, the absolute best case for Florida would be a top 3 finish in the SEC East this year.
100% agree. That would be we would do a show on that if that happened, right? I mean, that would be a crazy good season for Florida, right? I mean, would it not? I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to be mean, and I don't think anything we've said this year about Florida. I get these Florida fans, man, they're very sensitive. Holy shit. It's almost like Colorado fans. Like, if you don't agree with exactly what they're saying and going 11-1 this year, it's like everybody gets pissed off. Like, I'm a realist. I think you are too, Christian. I've known you for a long time, man. It's just like, I'm not knocking on Florida this year, but you're getting Graham Mertz. You act like you're getting Caleb Williams or something. Like, it's like, no. And even Caleb Williams isn't enough for Florida. They got a lot of holes on that team. Got a lot of problems, in my opinion. Hell, if, like you said, if they even finish in the top half of the SEC on that side, I would call that a good year for you guys. I really, truly would. And they're going to win a natty. I hope he was joking when he said that, but I'm not sure because I've seen a lot of these comments just like this.
Yeah, I don't think he's joking there. I mean, again, we need to reintroduce that toxic comment of the week. We got to get back on it there. We've been slacking, man. We've been slacking.
Get me all riled up, man. Get me all riled up.
Chris, was there anything else you want to add before we get ready to get off here? Oh, hold on one second here.
Oh, there he is. Hey, let's see what he has to say here. Quit hating. This guy, I'm not trying to be mean, Mr. Florida. I'm not trying to get involved with a viewer here, but man, I thought that was a little. You really think that like Florida's going to win a national title this year?
Hold on 1 second. Oh my God! 1 second here, Chris. I think let's go back here. I want to show you something. If you look at his avatar, I mean, this gentleman here is blind. No, I don't think that's him. But that guy's blind, so that must be how he's watching these games.
That's Nick Saban.
Hey, you can only hope, right?
I know. That's why I was laughing. I was like, damn, dude. No, it's not. I just can't believe, man. You say like anything about that school, man. It's like we just get a lot of hate for some reason, I guess. Maybe we're the magnet for that stuff. I don't know why. If they're still bitter at that, 95 Nebraska, Florida national title game, since we're a bunch of Nebraska fans over here. I don't know yet. It was 65-21, by the way. I'll throw that in there. But yeah, no, I really don't have a lot to add. I actually think, though, I will stick with my prediction, though, of Florida State being the best team in Florida this year. I truly think Florida State's got a chance to run the table this year. I really do. I'm going to put my foot down on the ground on that one. And Christian, you got anything else to add? And by the way, I appreciate the viewers jumping in here. I love you guys supporting us and backing us on this. Much love. I truly love it. Christian, I'll kick it back over to you, buddy.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring that up. Crypto King says, please start the show at 9 p.m. Eastern.
So that's 8 here, right?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, that's 8 here, I think, for our times. So, I mean, we can absolutely do that. I mean, we'll absolutely look at doing that. Sure. I mean, it's, yeah. He said, go Big Red, biatches. Listen, I'm a Georgia fan, but I'm married to a Nebraska fan. All my in-laws, including that fuck over there, are a Nebraska fan. So, I have to support them, and for Children of the Corn, let me just bring this up here. Look, I know Tamanaga. I know who that is. He's the kid on the basketball team. Dude, he can freaking. He's like the what they call him, like the Japanese or whatever, like Steph Curry, dude. The motherfucker can shoot the ball, bro. Right, he's awesome, dude. He's a good kid, dude. Really good kid. So I think that's probably going to about wrap us up for tonight's show. like I said, be sure to join us. We're going to probably jump back on here Friday. We'll do it at 8:00 on Friday, and we'll make sure we get that going for you. I think we'll see you guys on Friday.
Yep. Love you guys. Out.